It was reported as an airstrike on a dam in the Kursk region, but everything's fine. The bicycle wasn't harmed. Only the Russians were. Temporarily occupied Tokmak, Zaporizhzhia region. Russians are complaining about a drone attack. Temporarily occupied Tokmak, Zaporizhzhia region. Russians are complaining about a drone attack. As a result of the shelling of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, in the city of Tokmak, Zaporizhzhia region, an apartment building was damaged. This was announced on Wednesday, May 14th, by the head of the Tokmak Municipal District, Alexander Kalmykov. As a result of the Ukrainian aggression in the city of Tokmak, the city market and a 5-story civilian house were damaged, he said in an interview with TASS. In addition, 2 more buildings were damaged, an inactive kindergarten and a former store. On the evening of May 13th, the governor of the Belitsky region, Yevgeny, wrote in his Telegram channel that due to attacks by Ukrainian drones on Tokmak, the shopping malls of the city market caught fire. He clarified that there were no preliminary casualties. Earlier, on May 12th, Belitsky reported that at least 5 explosions were recorded during the shelling of Kamenka-Dniprovskaya by the Ukrainian armed forces. As a result of the shelling, 1,152 subscribers were de-energized. The chief of intelligence of the artillery battalion of the 77th Separate Airmobile Brigade, with the call sign Poroshok, shared how his soldiers managed to capture a prisoner using only a drone.
To survive on Ukrainian soil, a Russian soldier must surrender. They rot, they die. There is no way back. 3 enemy servicemen entered the shelf. We noticed them. We started working on them with FPV drops. 2 went on retreat and 1 moved toward our positions, but after 2 FPV strikes, he found a note we had previously thrown onto the ridge. Periodically, we scatter such leaflets. It demoralizes the enemy. He read it, and we approached him with a Mavic, blinking the bottom lights. He dropped his automatic rifle, raised his hands, and stepped off from the shelf, and they led him across the field to our position. They monitored him with another FPV in case he ran somewhere. He successfully climbed over 2 wire barriers, and he reached our positions. They tied him up, conducted a minimal interrogation, and in the evening, our vehicle arrived and they took him away. He had a military ID with him, and when they opened it, he was in the photo wearing prison garb, black, with stripes on the shoulders, either white or gray, and I immediately understood that he's our target. It turns out that even while being in prison, they are issued military ID cards, and immediately from there, sent from Moscow region, born in the year 2001, was convicted under the article for narcotic substances with a cup of marijuana. They gave him a choice, either the army or prison. He chose the army. Glad he stayed alive. But I didn't see much remorse in his eyes.
Was he born with a shirt on?
Yes, I think in such a coat.
Igor Girkin, Strelkov, in his letters, continues to harshly criticize the authorities and President Putin personally for their failure to prepare the country for war, the collapse of military modernization, and their belief in the possibility of reaching agreements with the West. This time as well, he predicts an escalation of the war and large-scale battles, especially in the Crimean and Donbass directions. Girkin is convinced that there will be no compromise, and that the Russian elite will be betrayed and destroyed. Kremlin's spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. The Kremlin has not yet revealed the composition of Russia's delegation for talks in Istanbul. The Russian delegation will be in Istanbul on Thursday, waiting for the Ukrainian side. A senior former Kremlin official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said Russia would be represented by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Putin's foreign policy aide, Yuri Ushakov.
Dmitry Sergeyevich, I know that you are not yet informing the delegation to Istanbul,
but we haven't revealed it
well,
yet.
And when will you announce it? Can you name the time or not yet?
No, I can't. When there is a directive from the president, then we will do it.
It turns out, a little over a day.
Until what?
Until Thursday.
Until Thursday, exactly right. Yes, absolutely.
Right now there is an enormous amount of messages. And how do you evaluate that? Zelensky suddenly is almost dreaming of meeting with Putin. He constantly says, I am ready already. Today he says, I am ready for anything to meet Putin. Why suddenly?
Listen, we are only evaluating President Putin's statement, who proposed to hold negotiations between delegations on Thursday in Istanbul. Our delegation will be there and will wait for the Ukrainian side.
Poland responds to Trump's envoy statement. General Keith Kellogg suggested European forces, including Poland, could be sent to Ukraine. In response, Deputy Defense Minister Cezary Tomczyk firmly stated, Poland will not send soldiers, and we are not talking about it, emphasizing support through logistics. European Parliament launched an investigation into the May 9th trip to Moscow by a group of MEPs. One of them, Fidias Panayotou, said, I must tell you that our visit to Moscow with other MEPs did not please the European Parliament at all, and it has already launched an investigation against us, Panayotou said in a video posted on his Instagram page. The Cypriot MEP referred to Russians as brothers, and pointed to the common religion and moral values they share with the Greeks. He also said the EU is just sending weapons and money to Ukraine to fight the Russians for 3 years, which hasn't done us any good. Panayotou was one of the 3 MEPs who voted against a European Parliament resolution calling for the return of 20,000 Ukrainian children abducted by Russia.
Είμαι εδώ μέσα στη Ρωσία. Ήρθα εδώ με άλλους ευρωβουλευτές, παιδιά, γιατί κουράστηκα. Το μόνο που κάνει η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση για να λύσει τον πόλεμο στην Ουκρανία τα τελευταία 3 χρόνια είναι να στέλνει όπλα και λεφτά στην Ουκρανία για να πολεμήσουν τους Ρώσους. Και τούτον έχει 3 χρόνια μας εύκαλε πού πότε. Οι Ρώσοι είναι αδέρφια μας, έχουμε κοινή θρησκεία, κοινές ηθικές αξίες. Κανένας πολιτικός ούτε από την Κύπρο ούτε από την Ελλάδα ήρθε στη Ρωσία μετά τον πόλεμο. Επίσης να σας πω ότι τούτη επίσκεψη που έκαναμε δαμέ στη Μόσχα με άλλους ευρωβουλευτές δεν άρεσε καθόλου στο Ευρωκοινοβούλιο και ξεκινήσαν ήδη έρευνα εναντίον μας. Το να είσαι σε πόλεμο με κάποιον και ειδικά με τη Ρωσία που ήταν ένας σύμμαχος μας τόσα χρόνια δεν βγάλει πούποτε, μόνο κακό μας κάνει. Πρέπει τώρα να ξεκινήσουμε συνομιλίες. Τούτο απλά είναι το πρώτο βήμα και ελπίζω να βάλουμε όλη πίεση στους πολιτικούς μας της Ευρώπης πέρκει αλλάξει στάση.
It is reported that the Estonian military made an attempt to arrest a Jaguar tanker of Russia's Shadow Fleet that was on its way to a Russian port under the flag of Gabon. A Russian Su-35 flew into the Estonian airspace to help the tanker out. Estonia accused Russia of violating its airspace and handed a note of protest to the Russian ambassador. Estonian media outlet ERR.EE reported that the incident occurred yesterday evening when a Russian Su-35 military aircraft violated Estonian airspace near the Juminda Peninsula for less than a minute. According to Estonian media, the Russian plane had no flight plan and its transponder was turned off. This is the first time this year that the Russian Air Force has violated Estonian airspace. At the time of the incident, the aircraft also did not have two-way radio communication with Estonian air traffic control, the public relations service of the General Staff of the Estonian Ministry of Defense reported. The Russian Shadow Fleet refers to a group of mostly old, poorly maintained and unregulated tankers and other vessels with unclear ownership structures, which transport Russian oil and other banned goods around the world to circumvent Western sanctions. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot said devastating sanctions are needed that could suffocate the Russian economy once and for all. Today, we are adopting the 17th sanctions package. But we need to go further because these massive sanctions have not yet dissuaded Vladimir Putin from continuing his war of aggression against Ukraine. And as the President of the Republic has said, we need to be prepared to brandish devastating sanctions which could suffocate the Russian economy once and for all, Barrett said.
Today we are adopting a 17th package of sanctions. I am very satisfied since among the 200 Russian ships, the Russian and international financial institutions and the destabilization actors conducting disinformation campaigns or cyber attacks, almost half have been proposed by my teams by the services of the Quai d'Orsay. But we will need to go further because these massive sanctions have not yet deterred Vladimir Putin from continuing his war of aggression against Ukraine. And as the President of the Republic said, we must be ready to wield sanctions devastating. That could suffocate the Russian economy once and for all. That is what I am working on with our American partners and in particular, Senator Lindsey Graham.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.